25 years. We are blessed with a 96% retention of our clients year over year for 25 years. And our commitment has been to really awakening the potential of people. We've had the same vision for the company for 25 years, and we're really committed to it. And HeadTrash is really the next piece. It's really been in production. We've been studying the challenge of awakening ourselves for over 25 years, myself personally. And the irony is that this all started to come together last August, which was kind of this great merging of IP and research that the company has been doing for years to really be able to put together some information to help us get through stormy days. And at the time, I certainly didn't know this would be the stormy day. And HeadTrash is actually my 6th book, and I can't believe it. And so thank you.
Awesome. Jen, you want to expand more about the community and what we're creating before we get right into the topic?
Absolutely. So we'll be sending out a feedback form after this session just to get insight from all of you, like speakers that you want to hear from in the future and what value we can keep providing, as well as helping you grow professionally and personally. And we would love to create community around everyone that attends and to further the conversation offline as well. So if you want to be a part of our community, please fill out the feedback form afterwards and also let us know what you think.
And last but not least, before this amazing topic, it is about community. We are all in need of being encouraged and supported and being mentored. And so we will be building out a community page, and that will also help each other connect in levels that they want to, specific to topics. We're also going to be supporting our corporate social responsibility, which is 2 hands to employ. We're going to help disadvantaged youth get educated, mentored, and in the future, employed in hotels and restaurants. So it's all about coming together and being a part of something bigger and greater. So thank you, Jen, for bringing that up, and thank you all for being here today. So let's get right to it. Renie, you're here. Thank you so much. And let's talk about this topic about HeadTrash. What is HeadTrash and why is it relevant? Can you just expand pretty much on the topic itself?
Well, HeadTrash they're the voices in our head. And we, as everybody knows, everyone has little people in their head, right? You're familiar with that? Those little people that chat things up. And we have what I say, the good little people and the bad little people. And the bad little people live on this disconnected side of our emotional brain. And these are the little people, the voices that undermine us. They're the voices that make us question things that really are not worthy of our time. They might be the voices that keep you up at night, obsessing over something you can't even control. And we all have HeadTrash. So that's what HeadTrash is. And the relevancy of it, well, it's been relevant forever because it limits us as human beings. So if you think of your brain as you have a physical brain, you have an emotional brain, and HeadTrash actually lives in the emotional brain. So as in your physical brain, you have blood that talks to the body and it sends the messages for your body to function. So you have that physical brain. Well, HeadTrash and it's living in the emotional brain, and there's just 2 sides to that brain. There's the disconnected side and the connected side of the emotional brain. And so what we've tried to do and really understand is that when your HeadTrash is out in front, it's leading you. And so it prohibits you maybe from staying open-minded or from learning something new, or it talks about fear and limitation. And really today, I can't think of something that's holding us back more than our HeadTrash, because we really have to take back our power. We have to take back control of our lives. And in a way, still being respectful of all other people's lives, but in a way where we're powerful and not feeling weak.
Gosh, that's so good. We all are going through something one way or another. So this is such a powerful topic. And for everyone that's here today, there are 100 individuals. We want to make sure that you do type in your questions. If there's anything you want to know pertaining to this topic, please do type that away. We'll do our best to get to you. So let's talk about habits. What habits can we develop that will help us empower our mind to reawaken our potential? Can you give us some, in a sense, to tap into that space? Because more and more people are looking at purpose, fulfillment, and of course, this beautiful thing of potential. So please share.
So actually, Chris, I want you to think about habits in two ways. So you have habits that you need to stop doing and habits that you need to start doing or continue doing. So in the stop doing, I think what has occurred, like for me personally, and I'll only share examples of myself, is that I had to stop watching the news first thing in the morning. I had to stop because it would set my mind in a place of feeling either overwhelmed or afraid or what else, or these things that weren't serving me. And so we have to look at how do we spend our time, and our habits define that. So I had to break that habit. You want to watch out for habits that suck your energy. So if you have habits, maybe there's people that suck your energy. Maybe there's situations that you don't feel comfortable in and that you continue to put yourself in. These are just, you can get out of them. It's just a habit to replace them. So you want to think about what are the habits that I do each day that don't serve me? And then the things that will serve you. So for myself, I did extensive study on what are some of the habits that help people be in the right mindset, so they're in their head truth. That's where your power is. So, for me, I get up in the morning and I meditate, and it really helps me. Now I have to do a guided meditation, Chris, because I'm too noisy in my head already. So I need someone to kind of guide me through that. But there's so many meditations, and it allows me to set my mind in a place. And I also like to journal. And I happen to be a writer. You don't have to be a writer to journal, because it's really just more about putting down on paper or somewhere your intention. That's what you're trying to do, is kind of get clarity of your day. That for me, that's what I use a journal for. I don't use a journal as much to reflect. I use a journal more to project, to decide where I'm going. And then there's other things like, find your exercise. Sometimes it's a hike. Others, they just get on the Peloton and just ride that thing into the ground. Find the thing that helps you move physically, because emotion comes from motion. Emotion comes from motion. So we want to keep moving so that then we can really have the energy we need. And then other things, and I somewhat mentioned this before, is really ensuring that you have clarity each day. So what's the clarity? Where am I going? Because right now, everything feels out of control. And when we're feeling out of control, we kind of tend to step back. We tend to worry. The overwhelmment takes over. The little voices in our head take over, and we start to slow down. So now we have twice the problem. Because when we don't have clarity, we don't have productivity. And productivity is what's key. Whether it's productivity in managing your household or productivity in your work, it doesn't matter. It's how productivity is about contribution. How am I contributing? Because when I feel that I'm contributing, I always feel good because I feel valued.
That's so good.
Some stop, some start.
I love that. Productivity is so true. And, it's more than just a New Year's resolution, because I feel sometimes people can get in the habit of, let's try this. And then it's an emotion. It's just an experience that doesn't really last. Do you feel for most people that, the saying, it takes 21 days to break a habit or to get in a rhythm? Is that true? Is that an accountability that you encourage those you coach and support and even your team members?
So, yes, I've heard that many a times. And I tell you, I've gone to the gym for 21 days in a row, and I'm supposed to like it on the 22nd day. And years later, I'm telling you, I still have to drag myself to the gym. I don't think you have to be really committed to a habit to change it. So it's not just, always remember that things happen first in your mind. When you decide, then something will happen. So that habit, starts. It was Tom Peters. He had in the book, I think it was The Power of Now. And he had spoke about jogging. And I found it really compelling because he said, on the day I decided to start jogging, I became a jogger. And I put my mind to it. And from then on, I was a jogger. And I was a no-nonsense jogger. And I think that's true with any habit we want to create. So if you find where you have habits, things, and you don't have to think of a habit, think of it as something that doesn't serve you. So it's the thing that sucks your time, wastes your time. It's the thing that doesn't give you anything back in terms of your happiness. Because that's what HeadTrash is really about. When you learn to dump your trash, when you learn to manage it, see it, manage it, and move it out of your way, then all of a sudden you have more happiness in your life. And that's the entire point of this book, is to help people find joy. And we're really struggling with joy because now it's this overwhelm, it's a tidal wave of, what's next? The pandemic, Black Lives Matter, somehow we're back trying to figure out what happened with this, civil rights, with #MeToo. There's so many things, the protests that are coming at us. And by the way, Mother Nature isn't too happy about how we've treated the planet either. So we have all these things coming at us and they're sucking us, and that slows us up. So I don't know, Chris, for me, I don't know if it's 21 days or 60 days. I don't even know who did that research. I've never studied it. To me, it's a decision that I'm going to start doing this. And then I surround myself with people who already do that. So my partner is Armand, and he is an exercise person. He hikes, he does this, he does that. And that's a great influence on me. And when he's around, I'm just more likely to get the exercise. Where when he's not around, and it's not that I don't like exercising, because there's certain things I do love doing. I just have other things I put in front of it. And that's a foolish decision, because exercise is about health. And I value health, right up there in your top 1, 2, that health is it. So understanding, like, what is it that you value? How can you motivate from within and surround yourself so that you have people that can support you, not deplete you?
Yeah, and believe in the choices you make, because it's so easy to have a powerful choice and then you can get swayed by other people's unhealthy choices. So I love that you just explained that. Such a great example. And before we tap into time management, which is our next question, Jen has a question for you. So Jen, please.
Yeah, Renie, so you were mentioning how to motivate from within, because I know there's a lot of people that have things that they know they should be doing and that are important to them. So what do you say to them about how to overcome that disconnect when it comes to, I know I should be doing this, but I'm avoiding or putting it off?
Well, I think that's the first step of anything. And if you even look at AA, the greatest change organization in the world, technically, step 1 is to acknowledge, right? Is to say that you're an addict. And I think the same is true with when you have to make a decision. And the fact of the matter is, you can't hope. Like, I hope I'm going to exercise today. What do you think the odds are of that happening? It's not going to happen. But I will exercise. Your language, your decision to focus and move. Nothing happens without action. You see, so when we're, sitting around waiting and we're hoping that the government's going to figure this out, and we're hoping that this is going to happen, we're hoping that we can only control what we can control. When we're focused outside of ourselves, we're actually depleting our potential. We have to focus within. There's plenty to do right here. I got news for you. I've been working on it my whole life. I'm writing a book about HeadTrash, and it's because I'm an expert on HeadTrash. So we have to decide that decide that I'm going to be more open to another person's perspective. Decide that I'm going to exercise. Decide that I'm going to work my ass off every day so that I can be productive and contribute and help my firm continue to be, what I'd like to think is, a powerful contributor to the industry. And, it's a decision. And until you make that decision, there's no coach, there's no tape, there's no meditation, there's nothing that's going to change. It's all about you.
Right, of course. Thank you for saying that. And we've got another question coming in from Dawn. She's sharing that she struggles with identifying her intention for the day because there are so many things that she wants to accomplish. I'm sure we can all relate. And do you set a more generic intention or something very specific, Renie?
Okay, so I do a couple of things. One thing I just recently added, and we do this now all at Aspire every morning, 8 a.m. We have a stand-up meeting, and it really has been powerful for certainly for me, and I think for others. And the first thing we do, each person has 1 minute. The first thing we do is what we call word of the day. And this was actually given to me as a suggestion from my mentor, Peter Thomas, who I believe is on today. So a shout out to Peter. But Peter does this word of the day. And this really allows you, like my word today was inspire, because I was going to be hanging out with people. And I hope that I do inspire you. Yesterday's word was execute, because I had a lot of deadlines that I was focused on. So your word can be organized. Your word can be anything that serves you. It allows you to keep going back and resetting your mindset when your day goes askew. And the second thing that I do every morning, and we actually now do this at Stand Up, is I decide what I'm delivering that day. And usually it's only 3 things. So I get very specific on what I'm delivering, and then I have methods of tracking. And even to this day, if I say I'm going to reach out to people to connect, well, who knows if I'll get 5 people, 10 people, whatever. But when I say I'm going to reach out to 20 people, because I'm very self-motivated, I will be tracking them, and I can't wait till the next morning to tell everyone, man, I got 21. Like, it's a way to give yourself something to shoot for, and it's little goals. The last thing I want to say is both of those things help you with clarity. And that's the reason people feel so, it's crazy, it's chaos, it's this. Part of it is we keep saying that. It's nuts, you know. But the other thing is, that we want to be able to have clarity of what we're going to do. And when I put exercise on that list, I exercise. And actually I do yoga quite a bit, almost every day. And when I put yoga on that list, I start my day off completely differently. And so sometimes, you know, and the minute I don't put it on my list, and by the way, Chris, I've been doing yoga a lot longer than 21 days, you know, like at least 20 years. And I love it. And it's good for me. And I know it, but if it's not on my list, I put other people's priorities or other things in front of it. And that builds head trash, because then you resent.
Right.
So resentment is on that other side of your brain, in the disconnected side of your brain where your head trash is. That's where resentment lives. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. And also resistance, right? So we have a couple people here that are wondering specifically, what are some tangible tools to get you from, okay, it's in the schedule, I'm going to do it, and then actually holding yourself accountable, making sure you commit to that habit, and implementing not only just the intention, but actually taking action.
Right. So yes, this is particularly difficult because we all want to plan, and we want to have a plan that's going to be like 6 months in the making. And right now, that's a really hard thing to do. But I go back to basics right now. I am so in the basics of, I block and tackle. And actually, I've been doing this for my entire career. I go through, and in my Outlook, I block out my time, because I have to be realistic about not just the time I have to deliver things, but I have to be available for my team. I have to be available for my family. I have to be available. You know, I want to make sure that I'm blocking time, because then my values are out in front. I have clarity of what I value in my life. And so my values are out in front. If I don't block my time and organize my time effectively, then what happens is everyone else starts managing my time. And this becomes a priority, and that becomes, and it will. People always take your time. You can't stop that. But what you can do is protect it. So it doesn't work 100% of the time, but blocking my time really helps. And sometimes it's like literally blocking my time so that I can spend time, you know, calling my daughter who is off at college and saying, hey, how are you doing? Because before I know it, I look up and, you know, you've had dinner and you know, it's 9 o'clock at night, and you didn't get to some of the things that really value the most. And I'd say that also with friendships. Like friendships are out in front. I block the time. You have to nurture the things you love. The second thing is, once you can block your time, that gives you the ability to be agile. So now all of a sudden you can move with the things that come up because you can move something around, you can move something forward. And as long as you don't kill yourself with perfection, and for those of you who are perfectionists, you have my heart, because that is just a really difficult journey. But when you stay agile, you can come back to what matters most first. And I ask myself that question probably 3 times a day because I get sucked in. You know, I'm a squirreler. Woo, there's a pretty penny, there's a shiny one, and so I have to really come back to what matters first and what matters now. And I start with first. The third thing is that we can all be disciplined. The reason that you're not disciplined is because you choose not to be disciplined. And so we have to just be aware that we have to be disciplined. If I gave myself 15 minutes or, you know, I write a weekly leadership tip. I put a lot of thought into it. I can't, if I only had 15 minutes, I can assure you, I wouldn't like it and I wouldn't submit it. But when I give myself an hour and I have the discipline because I have a list of things that I'm finding interesting, people that are saying interesting things, I read a lot, etc. And so that discipline allows me, the things that I do on a regular basis, that allows me to then be able to create and be in a disciplined mindset to get that creation done so it's of value. And I can tell you that my readers, when they don't like my leadership tip, they share the lack of value. And I really appreciate that because they give me feedback on it. But I believe they give me that feedback because they know I care and that I take energy and effort in that. And then the last thing I'm going to say is about time. And this is all about time, actually, Chris. So the last thing is, not everyone deserves your time. And I know this sounds really cruel, and compassion is like it's part of my soul. I always say, you get my time because you're all in whatever it is you're doing. I hang with people that are all in and that they believe and they're doing things. And so I find time for them. There's people who, I'm thinking that I'd like to start a new business, but I'm not sure, and and then you have another conversation. Now, like third conversation, I'm like, hey, talk to you soon. And I don't mean to be cruel, but I have a limited amount of time. We all have 24 hours. How I spend that time matters. And so I only give my time where I believe that people are fully committed. It doesn't mean that you have to have the answer to everything. You just have to, that difference, Jen, when somebody is all in and someone is kind of in?
Yeah, it's the light behind their eyes.
Right. So if you're kind of in, I'm not your flavor. I am not your flavor because I'm going to ask you to be all in. And I think that's another thing. It's like you need to decide who you're going to spend your time with and their attitude. This is how I always look at it because I don't want to be in judgment of them. I just say their attitude is their choice. And that's just where they are.
I love that. I think time management is such a key focus right now, especially. And, with all these distractions that are happening in our current work lives, any tips or tools? I mean, you did share and expand on these to better manage our time, because I think some people, even myself, can get up, we can watch the news, we can get distracted by the noise, but ultimately it comes back down to, all right, I'm going to shed this distraction, right? What we feed is what we become, and just get super disciplined. Do you take it seriously as far as writing down on, like you said, your journal, and just saying, I'm going to do these things and accomplish that, so I focus in on that?
So my journal, is a daily thing, as well as my calendar. I have a calendar even on Saturdays, because there's just so much that can distract you. But I think that, I shared, you block your time, stay agile, focus on what matters most, be disciplined, and then make sure that you're not using your time, on things that aren't giving you a return on your time, because that's all you got. Your time is an investment. I always say with coaching, that when I'm coaching someone, I am committed to them, and it's an investment in my time and belief in them. That's like the line for me. But I think the other thing, and because so many of us are working remote, the other thing is that you have to be careful of where you're working and the distractions. You know, I've been talking to people and their TV is on. I don't know how they do that. You know, I just don't know how. I can barely have music on. So know yourself. Now, that doesn't make the TV being on wrong, because you might actually, some people, you know, like music and noise, that helps stimulate their brain. And so you have to know what it is that distracts you. And when you think, look around and stop when you know you're not on track. And the answer is right there. The answers in our life are right up here. They're in the connected side of our brain. And when we're in that side of our brain, we're highly functional, we're organized, we've got things rocking and rolling. On the disconnected side of that brain of ours is where chaos is. So for me, by the end of the day, my desk looks like a nightmare. And after a day or two, I can live in that. But after a day, I got to regroup things so that I can go, okay, where am I? You know, I like to print things out because I'm a tactile person. It allows me to move things around, and I usually have 5 ideas going simultaneously. So I've had to learn what are the disciplines to allow me to focus. So I think that time management is a choice we make. Time management, there are certain things that you can do, but some of those things are really things that you choose. The worst thing you can do is sit around. Sitting around like right now is robbing us of our energy and our soul. And each person has been put on this planet to contribute and to make things happen. And with 40 million people unemployed, we have to help them figure out how do they get back up again, because this has been a real tragedy for them and for all of us. And especially when you're like, okay, what am I going to do next? And when I talk to people who are looking for work, I literally say, think of it as a job. What's on your calendar? What are you going to do? Who are you going to connect with, so that you can move out of this sorrow? Because blame and shame also lives on the disconnected side of the brain. It only sucks your energy. It takes you away from the game.
That's good. I mean, you practically answered the question about people who are currently sitting back and waiting for the next opportunity. And it's true. You've got to be productive. You've got to take the time to prepare for what's ahead and surround yourself with people who are thinking the same. Now, let's talk about sales, since there's a lot of hoteliers on this webinar right now. And, you know, during this depressed economy, I've seen people reach out with that hard sell approach. It's just constantly going right after, you know, work with me, let's create this opportunity. But I've labeled it more towards care well, because it's about creating rapport and storytelling. Do you have any insight on how individuals can make a better first impression? Because I think this is the best time right now in regards to building relationships, letting people understand your brand, your identity, and really create that healthy impression.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you 2 thoughts on this. The first is, your life is a reflection of your choices, your mindset, your relationships. That's what your life is. You define the experiences of your life that way. So during this time, if your mindset is, I'm out there, I got to sell somebody something. You know, in 25 years, my mindset has never been, I'm selling someone something today. People want to buy. And when you create a value proposition and a relationship, you are creating a give and take. It's not about selling. It's about creating an opportunity and a buying environment. And that starts with relationships. And so at Aspire, we studied over 10,000. After I read the book, Good to Great, which I loved, but there was nothing in that book that I, for my small firm, or any of our small and medium-sized clients could really utilize, because there weren't tactical approaches to the book. And so we went back, but really, if you look at it, the leadership piece was really what Good to Great was about. Great leaders create great companies, and great companies can sustain difficult times when those great leaders are there. And you see it all the time. All of a sudden you see someone who was, and by the way, not every leader looks the same, right? Steve Jobs looked a lot different, and it doesn't make him a good leader or a bad leader. It's like, what's the right leader for the culture? So getting back to leadership for us as individuals, we identified what we call 6 pillars of intentional leadership. And these 6 pillars are the same 6 pillars, whether you're leading a team of, 1,000, 50, or just yourself. And so when I think about how salespeople can really take this time and secure their relationships, I think about these 6 pillars. The first is connection. And that's the ability to connect with someone, even if you don't have chemistry. It's the ability to have rapport. So you already have rapport with these customers. So what is it that you're doing to help and to stay in connection with them? You already know they're not buying. Why would you ask them for something that they can't do? It just creates a rapport break instead of a rapport build. The second is clean communication. So you want to be able to communicate with people in a way that they can hear you. And you have to be able to communicate with people even when they're not great, you don't have the communication with them. You have to decide, okay, well, how is it that I can connect stronger so that my communication is more effective? Or what is it that I do that disconnects my communication? And we all do that. So the second pillar is staying focused on clean communication and communication that is of value to the other person. Third is compassion. It's really a time for us to understand empathy and to not be in judgment and to really be able to give to people. And because our hearts are hurting right now. And, the heart is the most important part of the body and of your life experience. So when you give, you push out compassion, and the beauty of it is that it comes back at you. The fourth is making sure you're aligned with your clients. So that's standing for a higher purpose together. So I know it's a really tough time. What do you need from me? How can I help? We have this, here's how we can solve this. I know I can't give you back all your money, but what I can do is this. And you find a way to align in the challenges that you face. The fifth is participation, which means to gain engagement. When people are engaged, and that goes back to the play all in, when people are engaged, then there's a whole different energy that happens. So, if I'm standing here and I'm like, so block your time, and I don't even know if I can do this, Chris, be disciplined and stay agile. Like, there's nothing, right? You want to, you wouldn't even be here. So we have to really look at how do we engage people in to participate with us. And then lastly is 100% responsibility, man. You have to own your responsibility and you have to be accountable. And that's where I think cool things like having a stand up in the morning each day, because it creates, for me, and technically, I'm the boss, which I would like to remind everyone who is in Aspire that I am the boss, and they do not care. But everyone when everyone's responsible, everyone's responsible. And if the boss is irresponsible, well, you've just started diminishing your culture. And I like my morning meeting because it makes me be responsible to the people that I am responsible to. So I think if you stick to the 6 pillars, and we can also get them up on the website at the end here, Jackie, if that works. But those 6 pillars are really there to ground us in our relationships.
I love those pillars. That's so powerful. Wow. Thank you for sharing. Jen, do you want to expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said there. It's about the intention that you have going into a prospective potential relationship with someone that might be able to help you. So what often I do, or even some of my clients, is what is your intention when you think of what can you provide in value to this person without any expectation coming back to you? And how can I help them without any of that external pressure or that, you know, that validation. So I love what you said there, Renie. And I've got a question here. When it comes to mindset, which is how I define it, is the way we think that then drives our behaviors. What works for you when you're in a negative mindset and sometimes allowing the head trash to take over, and you want to get into a more positive, proactive mindset? I know for me, it's more of a routine, setting ourselves up for success. Like you said, you know what distracts you, you know what you need to be effective and productive, but it's about really committing to it. So what has worked for you, Renie?
Oh, I think that's such a great question, because first I want to say that yes, I get to the disconnected side of my brain on more than a few occasions in a day. Things can be as simple as annoyances all the way to I'm afraid. And I think, you know, for me, there's a couple of things I do. The first thing is I'm actually, it's hard for people to believe, but people who know me realize I'm actually an introvert. I put out a lot of energy by my nature. Thank God my father told me it was a gift. And, for me, I gain my energy by being with myself a little bit. And so the people around me know that, hey, this is just, you know, Renie's going in. I think that's maybe why writing is easier for me, because, you know, it's something that feeds me. I happen to also, you know, I play the flute, I sit, you know, yoga. There's things that I do that when I just played my flute for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I was so invigorated after 90 minutes. And let me tell you, I hadn't played in a while and I was stumbling through. If it was all about making great music, it wouldn't have been a great 90 minutes. But for me, it was just this place to go. And I think you have to know yourself. Your life, like what I do, you know, I hang with people who I can say I need a little space, or I'm going to work on this right now, or I go for a walk, you know, on the beach, or I go for a walk around the block. So I happen to cook. I cook every night. The cooking for me is part of giving to the people I love, and it's also part of giving to my soul, because it's like chop, 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 you know, and cookbooks are like my thing, you know, it's part. So you have to find the things that work for you. You know, if you hate cooking, that's not going to replenish your energy. Now, the biggest thing though I want to share about head trash is that you feel the way you think. F comes before T. You feel the way you think. So you have these thoughts that aren't serving you. And the easiest thing you can do is ask questions. And I wish I had a picture of it. It's actually, you're gonna have a chance, you can sign up for this VIP thing later. There's a picture of it on the site, and it's about your brain. And if you think of your brain having two halves, this disconnected side and the connecting, how do you get from one to the other? And asking questions is the way you get out of the disconnected side. So if you ask yourself the question, why does this keep happening to me? You're going to stay on the disconnected side of your brain. If you take the same situation and you start to ask yourself the question, I wonder what I'm going to learn from this, or what about this will be funny? This is my favorite. What about this will be funny in 5 years? You know, sometimes I say 3, but sometimes I need 5. So, you know, it's your life, you can take control of your thoughts through shifting your perspective. And you can shift your perspective through activity. You can shift your perspective through the questions you're asking yourself. And then the other thing I do is, you know, I have been blessed with a lot of great mentors and peers, and I reach out. You know, I'm you know, trying to be the best version of myself, but I've got to have people around me that say, hey, that's kind of a knucklehead idea, or please stop that, or wow, I can see why you're upset. And they let me get what we call flat in coaching. They let me get flat, and then they, you know, enough is enough. So I think we have to have all of these resources around us. And in my book, Head Trash, we actually have a whole section of different ways, different people, because we have interviewed a lot of people in 25 years. We've seen a lot of head trash in 25 years. And so we've been able to collect the ways that people really find a higher level of their self.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's good. Jen, do you want to expand more on that, or you feel good?
Yeah, no, I just love what you said there, because often when we're down in the dumps in that funk, we think about the why question, which only gives us an existential crisis, right? Why do I do this? Why am I not doing that? So I would just love to expand on that. Like, what has worked for me too is asking yourself what and how questions are far more effective to try to get yourself out of that, right? What can I do here? What can I control? What do I need? And how do I do that? How am I going to be successful in this moment or for this potential X? So I just love what you said there.
Yeah, you know, you make a great point, because that how question is about taking action. And when you take action, you move out of that side of the brain, usually. But sometimes we do have to self-explore, because we don't want to take action when we're in the disconnected side of the brain, because our choices are not really the right choices for us, right? They're reactive choices, where if we can shift, then but I think you make a great point, the what questions, the how questions. And quite honestly, sometimes it's as simple as, you know, the Serenity poem, or, you know, like different people, different things. It's like, how do I just, you know, stop, you know? Sometimes it's as simple as, I got to stop this. Like, this is nuts. I have to stop. And usually we get there. You know, I had a friend who I was talking to just recently, and he shared with me that something had occurred and in the office, and it was just ridiculous. It was foolishness, and it was a waste of time. We've all been there. And he could not get it out of his head all night. He's up for 3 hours, wasting his time on someone else's trash, right? Like, there was nothing that he could do, nothing, but he couldn't let it go, couldn't let it go. You know, he got up in the morning, he was like, what did I do? And it's only in the awareness that, hey, I do this.
Wow.
So, and I think if you have a mindset of making other people wrong, it's really hard to get out, because that blame and shame keeps you over there. It's very hard to find a helpful question when we're blaming someone else. So we're saying when we make other people wrong. And that's a, you know, a habit that, you know, if making someone wrong or starting with no, you know, as a parent, starting with no is not like, I decide when no is going to be no. And the rest of the time it's usually a maybe or a yes, right? You know, you want to be careful on your no's with people, and your no on, or you're making someone wrong. It throws them into their head trash, and now you got a whole new problem.
Yeah, that's good. Renie, that leads to the next question, because there's so much time for reflection right now. So many people are thinking, okay, what do I really need in my company culture? Whether they're working with a company right now or have in the past. So do you have any tips for any of our viewers who might feel they're not being heard professionally? What would that be? Just because I always believe, more than anything, once you understand your why, you can always find your how. And how can individuals really feel that they are being heard, they are being respected and honored? Like, what would those tips be for the viewers here?
So I think what tends to happen when we don't feel heard are two things. We repeat ourselves, and we repeat ourselves, and we repeat ourselves, and then our voice starts to raise. And so when we create that environment, and I am guilty of this, like I just get, you know, you get caught. And so when you are more self-aware of something that's occurring, then you can stop yourself. So a lot of the reasons why people can't hear us is because of the way we deliver the message. I always say, I'm responsible for how my message lands. And when it doesn't land correctly, which happens, you can't help it. It does happen. Well, you can help it. You make a bad choice, then you have to clean it up. And that's that. It's just that simple. We don't want to clean anything up, because that means that we would have to own the mistake. And I think, so we have to understand that we're responsible for someone to hear us. They have to be in the mindset to listen. And also I have to be in the mindset in the way that I deliver my message. So I can say to someone, that doesn't sound like a really productive approach. And I'm going to throw them back on their heels. right? And so their head trash is going to all be about, oh my God, did I do it wrong? Or let me explain to you why you're wrong. Or it's versus saying the same thing a little differently. Like, so help me understand how you want to make this more productive. So it's the same thing, and we have to learn how to use our language in a way where other people can hear us.
Yeah.
Second thing I'll say is that most of us have crap for listening skills. We are in our own head, which is the level 1 listening that in Aspire we talk about all the time, which came out of its IP from a company that wrote the book Coactive Coaching. And when we're in our own head, we might be able to hear, but we're not listening. You know, the idea that you think you can multitask is ridiculous. Your brain, things come in, they process, you decide, they come out. So we have to be careful of that. Like, I literally turn things off when I need to, you know, if I'm on a Zoom with someone, I turn everything off. And if I didn't, it's by accident, because there's too much to disrupt me going on, and I won't be able to listen, and then I miss out. And when you don't listen to someone, you break rapport. And when you break rapport, now they can't hear you. So if I'm not listening to you, I've thrown you into which side of your brain? The disconnected side. Nothing happens in the disconnected side. There's no productivity. There's nothing that's proactive, and all the good stuff that we have to contribute it doesn't live over there. Our brain, so the goal is to have a bigger emotional side of your connected side of your brain. So you have to really be careful. You know, are you a good listener? And listening goes beyond the words. It goes beyond the body language. It actually goes all the way to the energy of someone's communication. Like, they're telling me it's okay, but I know that it's not okay. So do I ignore that? How do I have to navigate that? And then the last thing is, you know, we want to be succinct in our messaging. So if we go on and on and on, the message is lost. And so therefore someone has checked out on it. And so I always say, you know, strive for dialogue. You know, even Jimmy Fallon, all the night guy, the hosts of, you know, the Tonight Show, all those guys, they do a 10-minute monologue. That's it. And usually now it's only 5 because they don't even have an audience. So you want to be in dialogue with people, not monologue.
I love that constant reminder. Listen, think, digest before you speak. And we all, I know I'm guilty. So it's just that reminder of taking it all in and not feeling like you have to have that last say, but connect with people in the way they want to be heard. So that's beautiful. So this leads now to HeadTrash. Why should people grab this book, and what insights can they take away from this great reading? And we want to put that on the screen so they could take a look at what they have to offer and the value that goes with it.
Yeah, there's nothing to buy here. This is actually a give, so no panic is required. So it's all free.
I love it.
Basically, so HeadTrash, the book, The Leading Killer of Human Potential, is a book that will be out sometime in 4th quarter. And so when you go to the site, you can sign up. We have a VIP membership. There is no charge. And it says what you get, etc. But this is a way, my commitment, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and my commitment, you know, before I leave this planet is to give back. And I think this is really a way that I can give back the research that we've done on this topic and helping people live a more happy and joyful life. This is where my soul is for this next chapter of my life. So when you read this book, I think, you know, one thing will happen is that you'll become more aware, and therefore you'll be able to acknowledge your head trash. You'll learn to manage it, like what resources, how do I manage it? And then how do I dump it? How do I stop certain pieces of head trash? And when you do that, when you decrease the amount of head trash, what you gain is clarity. So you don't have all the noise. You know how sometimes you have noise in your head? So all that noise, all that chatter. So you now have the chatter that you need to make smart decisions, the chatter that you need to be productive, to take action. And when you have focused action, right, because you have clarity, now you start to feel better because you're able to really be productive and be a contributor. I think the second thing that you learn in this book, or at least I hope, is really how to take back your inner strength and regain your power. And a lot of us have felt like our power's been stripped of us in the last 6 months, and we don't know what to do, and there's so much you can do. For those who are unemployed, there's no better time than to give right now. There's so many organizations that are in need of support, or to coach, or to develop others, to find ways to give. But most importantly, when this book is about taking back your power, and therefore when you have your power, now you have your potential again. And that's one of the things that I've noticed in the last 6 months, is that people have really felt like, well, where do I go from here? What's our potential? We're falling apart. We'll never be okay. And all that is trash. And so when you put your head in that right space, you'll be a powerhouse again. And that, I think the last thing is what I've learned about, over the years of decreasing my head trash. And in this book, and also once the book comes out online, we all have one big lie, and the lies are limited beliefs. And there's the I must be right, the I must win, everyone must love me, and I must always feel comfortable. And we actually have a quiz that has been developed and gone through beta to help you identify your big lie. And I think that the beauty of understanding this lie that we tell ourselves, because none of them are good, like it's not like you want any of them, and you only get one. That's kind of how the brain evidently works. But for me, when I am not in my lie, I happen to be an I must win, or when others see me in my lie, they can help me get to the connecting side of my brain because they know what I'm up to. And when that helps me have more happiness in my life. And if I had one, it's help people find their happiness and joy. And I don't know that I started out that way last August, but I certainly feel that, there's nothing better than joy. Well, actually, I'd say love and joy. And when we had that love and that sense of joy in our life, we're like unbelievable. We think different. We create different. We're strong, and we're driven, and our best selves are there. And I can't think of a better time for people to get that back and get out there and excuse me, but let's kick some ass and make things happen. This world needs us. They need leaders. And I hope this book helps people find that strength, that self-leadership strength inside, so they can persevere to where they want to go next. And there is no better time, by the way, for anyone here who doesn't love their work, right? You don't find joy in your work. This is the perfect time to find new work, because you want to love your work. You spend too much time in it. I never thought I'd be doing the same thing technically for 25 years, though it hasn't been the same ever, not even one day. But the fact that I get to do what I do brings me joy. And that is, what else can you ask for in your life, that you had joy and love.
Wow. Renie, I think I could speak on behalf of everyone here. We are so inspired, encouraged with this message, and just want to thank you so much. Brent, Jackie, the Aspire team, we were very appreciative. Thank you, Jen, for co-hosting, and the genre team. Everyone, please read this book. Tell your friends, your colleagues, your family, everyone you may know about this, so we can spread the love and take back your power. So thank you so much. We look forward to having you back. And last but not least, please, guys, do fill out the feedback form. We really want to build this community, be of support to encourage you in the resources of getting the questions that you want answered. And of course, being an influence out there as well. So awesome. Give a round of applause, virtual applause for Renie.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much, everybody. Thanks for taking an hour out of your day. I know you don't have the time. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a blessed week, guys. We hope to see you soon. Come back, follow us on the Hospitality Mastermind series, and we'll see you out there.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.